anything like me, you find yourself constantly scouring Facebook Marketplace, looking for your next fun set of keys in the hopes of finding driving Nirvana. And if you're also like me, you have a long commute, so you need comfort, dependability, and decent gas mileage, and you know all those things don't come together for cheap. Oh, hang on, here's a good part. Anyway, as I was saying, I might have just stumbled onto an amazing exception hiding right under our noses that is likely available in your market right now for only a few $1,000s. So let's not bury the lead. This car that I'm driving is a Mark 6 base model VW Golf that costs $3,600 plus $882 in mods, and very simple wrenching that anybody could do. That's it. And somehow that modest budget has produced something genuinely special. The heart of it is the Inline 5 07K that they snuck under the hood. Its tenor harmonic becomes properly addictive at every RPM. That kind of sound you find excuses to chase even when you have nowhere to go. And with half of a V10 cylinder head design from Lamborghini and a rally-proven bottom end from Audi, it wants to flow a lot more air and take a lot more horsepower than the 170 it came with from the factory. Oh, and it's been called VW's most durable engine of all time, so maintenance will be minimal and you don't have to feel guilty when you redline it everywhere you go. Then there's the way it pulls. After the simple mods, low-end torque suddenly appears out of nowhere, leaving you puzzled as to why VW didn't make it that way from the factory. It just wants to go all the time. And with no turbo lag, you find yourself rolling onto the throttle just to feel that surge and lovely noise again. Then there's the chassis. Of course it helps that the Golf chassis was already a brilliant starting point. The steering, the manual transmission, the brakes are already excellent. The alignment of the pedals, perfect for heel towing, and it's already under 3,000 pounds. All of that is good straight from the factory. But the usual sins, the understeer, the lazy turn-in, the reminders that it's front-wheel drive, those have all effectively vanished with one of these modifications. The final result is a car that handles like the stick to the chassis, sounds like a rally symphony, and a power curve that will never leave you bored on your daily commute. But how did I get there? The beauty of this build is in its minimalism. There's no endless hours of figuring out how to add a turbo or change the engine, just small, cheap changes, each addressing genuine weaknesses and compounding on each other to produce a transformation that seems nothing like the original car. First, the intake. The stock system on this car is shockingly restrictive, much more so than most vehicles. We all know about cold air intakes and how they don't really free up any noticeable horsepower, but in this case, the stock setup is so choked from the factory that replacing it with any aftermarket intake yields 10 to 12 horsepower gains, along with a much louder induction noise, as long as you do get the kind that relocate the intake filter to just in front of the wheel well, which is outside of the engine bay. A good example of that one is the one made by USP. If you do this, suddenly that inline 5 starts to sound a lot like its rally heritage, and every tick above 4,000 RPM borders on orchestral. Another benefit is you get rid of that monstrous intake and useless engine cover and save 9 pounds off the nose of a car as a bonus, and it also makes servicing the engine easier. By the way, on the topic of weight loss, between these mods and eliminating all the spare tire equipment, I reduced the overall weight by 56 pounds. Next came the exhaust side. Most of these came California compliant and have ridiculous catalytic regulations that really choke the engine. Replacing that setup with a single cat downpipe, a high flow cat, or a full race pipe, if you're in a free state, uncorks the engine like it's been waiting years to exhale. This frees up another 10 to 15 horsepower and also gets you more of that legendary inline 5 snarl echoing under the floorboards, even with stock muffler still intact. If you want to get more aggressive, you can, and it only gets more glorious from there. Third, replacing the heavy steel crank pulley that drives the accessories with a lightweight and smaller diameter aluminum crank pulley from eBay. It takes 10 minutes to replace and reduces the power losses from the heavy factory pulley and all the other accessories by effectively spinning them slower, like a lower gear. These 3 mods alone free up around 30 horsepower and cost under $400. But more importantly, they drastically change the engine's power curve and thus the entire driving experience. The low-end response that was non-existent before is now present in spades. The throttle response sharpens, the revs climb faster, the engine now purrs, and the whole thing suddenly feels more alive, more special. Alright, now moving on to handling. The car's stock suspension is just fine, guys. You don't need to lower it. You don't need to get full-on race. You don't need to double the spring rate. Don't mess with it. Seriously, guys, it's great. It's already got, it's a great handling chassis. The only thing it needs is a little tire hacking to fix that understeer. And this cannot be overstated. Up front, you want a pair of summer tires rated at 200 tread wear. You can find it called out on any tire website. And then in the rear, you want a 500 tread wear rated tire, typically called all season. So 200 and something up front, doesn't have to be exact, just somewhere around there, and then around 500 on the rear. And both need to have a decent speed rating, so you have some precision and predictability, that they're not all, you don't feel like you got roller skates underneath you. My go-to rating is 92Y for the speed rating. And my go-to these days for tires are Kumo Exta S Sports for the 200 summer tires, and I like Kumo Extas for the 500 tread wear too. And I didn't count them toward the build cost because they're consumables and really not much more expensive than the normal tires you would already have to buy. But the huge payoff is they solve the understeer problem and bring in just a hint of oversteer, the balance most driving enthusiasts want. Now, if you only did those things, you would be blown away at the transformation. But if you want to put the cherry on the bang for your buck cake, then add a reputable tune and unlock the upper ranges of the RPM. I used Integrated Engineering's software for $450, which includes the hardware you need to do it with your laptop. It's really easy, plug and play. But there are many to choose from, and they're all pretty similar. The tunes typically tweak throttle response, timing, fueling, give you a higher red line. And in the case of this 07K engine, it hacks its built-in variable valve timing for more power everywhere, just like VTEC. The last thing you might have noticed is the shifter. That's my own personal touch, a custom designed knob and rod I retrofit into every car that I own. I don't like short throw or short rod shifters. I want every shift to be an experience, and this one has perfect weight, perfect shape, and to me, it proves that even the smallest change can make a noticeable difference in the driving experience. When you add it all up, the car, the parts, the tweaks, the tune, it's still less than $4,500. $4,500 for a seriously good, refined driver's car, but also dependable, durable, low cost to maintain, and cheap to fix if you ever do manage to break it. What makes this car special isn't the numbers, it's the balance. The sound, available on demand. The throttle response at any RPM. The way it now changes direction. Light on its feet, spunky, but still solid as a rock at Autobahn speeds. This isn't the fastest car I've ever built or the most powerful, but it's the one that makes me want to drive for no reason at all, and prove to me that you don't need a supercar budget to achieve driving nirvana, comfort, and dependability in an economical package. All you need is a little research, little cost-benefit analysis, and a hint of autism.